here and show you the settings I'm on right now. So you can see I got 2.7K, 60 frames per second, super view. None of that stuff is really pertinent to this video. Let's go ahead and go in here into the settings. Let's go down here. You go into the Pro Tune settings, you can see right there. Let's go down into the wind. See that wind right there? When you select that, you can go wind noise reduction off, wind noise reduction on, wind noise reduction auto. The auto will try and switch between off and on. I really don't like the auto because it'll really distort your voice and make it sound bad. The first run right here, we're going to do wind noise reduction off. So let's go ahead and get that run going, and then I'll show you the next one we'll do with the wind noise reduction on as well. All right, here we go. Got that wind mode set to off. Should sound pretty good right now because we're not moving yet. We're going to start at this same point each time. We go ahead, get this bike, try to shift all the way down to the highest gear, and just get full pedals. Right now, you should be hearing that wind noise pretty bad. Stop our runs. We'll stock our runs right there. All right, there it goes. That was with wind mode set to off. Now we're going to go in here. One of the reasons why I like this, Jesse, is that you can easily adjust your settings. Other chest mounts, you'll have to mount your GoPro upside down to get the right angle. This one works pretty good with the angle just being upright like this. You do have to be careful to make sure it's down right on your chest, but let's go ahead and flip that forward. I am going to take it off this time. I could just adjust the settings right here. I'm going to take it off this time and show you guys what I'm adjusting this to. So the activity going right into there. Going into those settings and going down once again in the Pro Tune, going to wind mode. Now we're going to turn wind noise reduction to on. So now wind noise reduction is on. We're going to go ahead and see how the GoPro does with wind noise reduction, just doing it digitally. All right, coming back around to the same spot. We got that wind mode set to on. We're starting at the same spot. Now, one of the things you're going to notice about this is while it's reducing the wind noise, it's also affecting the voice quality. So this should help and reduce that wind noise, but the voice quality is also going to get affected. All right, stopping there at the same spot. Let's move on to the next side-by-side comparison. All right, so that was with the wind mode set to on. You guys will probably have noticed that it did help reduce some of the wind noise. However, it also, like I was saying on the video there while I was riding, it also really affects your voice quality. So if you're really trying to go for the best of all worlds, you'll keep that wind noise reduction off, set to off. So for all the rest of these tests, the wind noise is going to be set to off right there. You can see the wind mode set to off. And then I'm going to show you guys the other techniques you can use for wind noise reduction on your GoPro. And we're going to start with the HSU Wind Slayer. Now, here goes the package right here, the unboxing. HSU reached out to me. They started sending me these products. I really fell in love with their Wind Slayer when comparing it to the other ones. So let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed real quick. Pretty good price. I'll throw a link in the video description for all this stuff, no matter which one you guys choose to get. This comes in a 2-pack, so there's 2 of them in there. And this kit also comes with some additional hardware to help mount your GoPro, an additional thumb screw, and this super cool little tool right here for tightening and loosening your thumb screw. You can see how that will work. But let's go ahead and put that box aside right now, and we'll look at these Wind Slayers right here from HSU. This is the foam piece that goes over your GoPro, and I'll go ahead and get that one on there, and we'll go ahead and do the comparison test with the Wind Slayer on. So what you do is you just line it up right there. See that power button? lines up with the hole right there on that side to the bigger screen opening on the back side. That's the one I like to shove this thing through. Put it right through there. Line that up. Be careful when you're putting these things on here not to stretch it out too much, because as these things do age and as they do get more stretched out, it will affect how good these wind slayers are at wind noise reduction. Once you put it through, you go ahead and reach underneath the bottom right there and pull the tabs out. There you go. And slap this thing on the chesty. Boom. Boom. I've also noticed that with the wind slayer on, that additional little spacing right there is like the perfect angle for when you're riding right there. So let's go down and give it a test. All right, so we got that wind mode set to off. We got the HSU wind slayer on there. This is the setup I use most of the time when I ride. I'll talk a little bit more about at the end of this video why I prefer to use this over the other methods that we're going to try out today. But let's just go ahead, get this going, turn around to the same spot, pedaling up to speed, cranking it out. And you should be able to hear less wind noise. It is a little bit of a gusty wind right here as I'm riding, so it's not gonna reduce all of the wind noise, but what it does is it reduces enough of it to where when I'm talking, you're still able to hear my voice clearly because that wind mode is set to off, and it reduces enough of the wind noise to where it's not so horrible when you're riding. So there it goes. That was with the HSU wind slayer on. This is my favorite option. Like I said, I'll explain just a little bit more because of just ease of use. It's super convenient to use. It fits tight enough to block out enough of that wind noise, and you can just pull it right back off when you're done using it. Super snug fit. I've tried other wind slayers, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. This is the other wind slayer that I've found on Amazon, just this kind of generic brand one. And it's just not, it doesn't fit as snug on the GoPro. This other one, you can see, I mean, it is quite a bit easier to get your GoPro in and out of there, which seems convenient, but it's loose. Look at that. I mean, the camera can pop right through. It doesn't fit snug enough. Wind is going to get into all these gaps because this thing, I mean, all wind slayers are not created equal. So be careful when you guys are purchasing a wind slayer. You guys can use the link in the description or search it up yourself. HSU wind slayer is the one that I prefer. But let's go ahead and continue these tests because we still have the media mod to test. We have the Rode wireless mics with the media mod to test. And we're going to go ahead and test out the dead cats. So let's go ahead and get this media mod strapped on there. I apologize, we got cars leaving over here, so gonna hear cars starting up here. You have to take off the battery door when you put this media mod on. You pop it open. With this media mod on, it's got the shotgun mic, so you can go down here. If you go into the Pro Tune settings, and you see how the media mod has front, so you can use the front of that shotgun mic, or, you know, since we're going to be filming with the wind mainly hitting the front of this shotgun mic, I think what we should do for mountain biking is go ahead and set that to back, or there's the camera mics, which we don't want to do that. It would shut the microphones all off. So let's go ahead and set that to back on the media mod. So that's set to back. All right, let's back out of these settings real quick. Boom. All right, we got that set to back. Media mod is on. Throw this on the chest mount. Let's get to riding. All right, we got that media mod on there. To be honest with you, I've never really rode with this media mod much, so this would be kind of a test for me, seeing how this does with wind noise reduction. And one of the reasons why I don't recommend this media mod is, first of all, the price. It's an additional cost to you guys out there. It's not as cheap as the wind slayer. Also, battery usage. This thing will drain your battery a little bit quicker, especially when we start strapping on those external wireless mics with the wireless Go 2. So I don't really recommend this, but let's see for you guys out there that already have the Media Mod, maybe this is a good option to go. So let's get back around to where we're starting from. Start pedaling this thing up to speed and see how the Media Mod does. I like talking a little bit while I'm riding, so that's why I'm continuing to talk, and then I'll stop talking for a minute. All right, some pretty good wind noise right there, so you guys should be able to get a pretty good feel for how that sounded while I was riding. And once again, this is with the Media Mod and that wind mode set to off. Media Mod is still on there. We're gonna go ahead, while we got the Media Mod, and try the next thing with this, which is this Rode Go Wireless 2, which is a receiver right here that it comes with, and wireless microphones that it comes with. And you can see right there as I'm talking that this thing, oh, come on, turn on. You can see right there as I'm talking that this thing is capturing my voice from this mic. So we're gonna go ahead and give that a try. This mic with the Rode Wireless Go 2 right here, with the mic kind of hooked up like a lav mic, you're probably gonna hear the sound quality a little bit better. My voice might even be a little bit louder because this microphone's gonna be, we're gonna launch from here. We're gonna go in here. We're gonna split out just a little bit better than the GoPro mic, but I'm really interested to see as we round this corner right here and start pedaling it out, how it does. With wind noise. So let's go ahead, start shifting up. Oh, that was a horrible shift. Getting up to speed, and we'll see how this does. All right, so there goes with the Rode Go Wireless 2 with the Media Mod. I don't think a lot of you would want to go this route. Like I said, really expensive option. I'll throw the price on the bottom for the Go Wireless 2 and for the Media Mod. You need the Media Mod for the Rode Wireless Go 2 to work. There's quite a few other options. Excuse me, pedaling a little bit hard, a little bit out of wind. There's quite a few other options you could probably do with this though, like sticking this further up in the lapel, hiding it to where you can still hear pretty good. But leave a comment below and let me know if you guys would like to see any follow-up videos on this. It does drain the battery quite a bit, so I could also do a side-by-side comparison, battery usage with all this connected to the GoPro versus stock. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you guys want to see more on that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to one of the final tests we're going to do right here. And that is with the dead cats. So the dead cats, these things are not cheap. I don't really like the price. I'll throw a link, like I said, for everything down below. I think these things were like $16 or something. And what you get is you get these little fuzzy pieces with this backing. And it's the hair length is about the right length. You will have to trim it a little bit when it gets underneath here to make sure it's not going to interfere and the fuzz doesn't get into the camera view. It comes with these little adhesive stickies right here. And while this will give you some really good wind noise reduction and keep your sound quality really good, it's just the problem that I have with it is that if you ever want to change out your lens, okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and stick this thing on here, and I'll show you guys what I'm dealing with. So that has to go on the front right there, like I said, to cover up those front ports right there, that front mic port. But you can see right there how that's right up against that lens. So if I ever want to rotate this lens to pull it off, to put on like an Indie filter lens or Max lens mod, it rips off this front one. I continually have to replace it. Not only that, but these adhesive pieces, when you get it on there, you can see as I'm kind of pulling it up, it comes back off kind of easy. So as you're putting this stuff away and taking it out of your camera bag or just general usage as you're riding and it's just kind of getting rubbed against stuff, these little dead cats will come off. You're always having to make sure that you stick them back down and you push it really hard right around there. It'll start to peel up along the edges right here, and you won't notice it till the end of a ride that wind was actually getting in right there. But we'll go ahead, I'll show you, like putting them on right now, I can tell you, let me just show you. You have to trim just a little bit right across here to make sure that that fuzz doesn't get up into the camera. Putting them on right here, first time using them, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, these things are amazing, they work super good. But over time, these things will just become a pain in your butt. You're always worrying about if they're actually stuck on there correctly, if there's any kind of issues with that. You usually don't notice it till the end of the ride. I'll show you what I like to do right here for this one. It's a little bit bigger. And I'm sorry, you guys, if I'm like kind of rambling on. This is very unscripted, very from the heart, just trying to give you guys good content. So you can take two of them and kind of custom make your own little adhesive section for this right here. So to go all the way around that. Boom. Like that. Then you take one of these fuzzies and you stick it on there. But it's really just, like I said, continuing off, like I was saying, the issues I have with these is you're always having to worry that it's stuck on there correctly. You won't usually notice that it wasn't stuck on there correctly until the end of a ride, and your footage is always ruined. And these things just become a pain in your butt. And when you want to go buy a new pack because you've ran out of them, it's $16 more when you could have just went ahead with the HSU Windslayer right here and gotten those not only for cheaper, but way more convenient. Not to mention, if you ever want to get your GoPro wet, once again, you have to be able to remove these things, put them back on, but enough rambling. I'll stop talking. We'll get this final one stuck on the top right here, and then we'll get out, get to riding, and I'll show you the wind noise reduction with these. Get to riding. Back out here. Got that wind mode still set to off, making sure that the fuzz isn't in the lens right there. That's one of the issues that you'll run into with these dead cats that I didn't kind of mention, but you won't notice until the end of a ride that the fuzz was in the lens the whole time, and that ruined your footage. But take a listen to this as we're riding and we're pedaling up to speed. My voice quality is nice and crisp, and as we get up to speed, this really does a really good job of that wind noise reduction. All right, so there we go. There goes with the dead cats on there. Now, of course, I don't get to review this footage until you guys are really watching it. So hopefully this sounds as good as I remembered, but I still recommend using the Windslayer right here that I get from HSU that I'll go ahead and throw in the description right in there over that, just because of the ease of use and how easy it is to take it on, remove it. It's cheaper. You get two for the price of one. But people have also asked me before, why not just use a combination of the two? Well, I've tried that, you guys. I tried adhesiving the Windslayer, the dead cats onto the Windslayer. I thought this was gonna be like a money maker for me. Maybe I'd make a cool product that you guys would like. It really didn't make that much of a difference with the dead cats on top of the Windslayer. I've tried putting the Windslayer on top of the dead cats, and what you run into is in hotter climates, your camera will start to overheat because those microphone ports are also good for cooling down the internals of your GoPro. So there you go, guys. Back-to-back tests. Leave a comment below. Let's go ahead and keep this video growing. Let's keep those comments going down below, talking about the wind noise reduction on the GoPro. What other tips and techniques do you guys have for everybody? And as always, get stoked, go ride, and have some fun, people.
Hey folks, this is your complete GoPro Hero 13 Black user guide, beginner's guide, the complete guide, whatever you want to call us. In this video, I'm going to walk through everything you need to know about the Hero 13 Black from someone who's been using GoPro action cameras for well over a decade at this point. I'm going to walk through all the features on this, both the existing features as well as the new features. If you want my review about how those features work, like good or bad, that's up in the corner there. Instead, this guide is all about explaining to you how to use this camera, again, with tons and tons of pro tips. And given such a big part of the Hero 13 Black is all the new accessories for it, like the new lenses and things like that, I'm going to walk through all of those, but also, probably more importantly, I'm going to walk through all the accessories that I actually use day in and
What's up, guys? I'm Nick Wisdom with Heli Direct, and we're here today. When I say we, I have a guest with me. I'll introduce in just a second. But we're here today to help some beginners through how to decide on their first helicopter, right? So there's a lot of choices on the market. Some look cooler than others, but what really are the best paths for getting into the radio control helicopter hobby? So I want to introduce a man who really needs no introduction, but Jeff West, who is another Heli Direct team pilot, is a large content creator. He's got his own YouTube channel over at West Hobbies RC, constantly doing build videos and reviews, man after my own heart as far as that kind of content goes. So with that, Jeff West, welcome.
Thank you very much, Nick, for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I think, together, we probably both have some different ideas. That's the thing in this hobby, right? You get any group of people together, and there's a lot of differing opinions, and on most of the time, they're both valid, right? There are some people who will steer you incorrectly, but I think I'm pretty confident in saying whatever Jeff and I suggest are both great ways to continue into the hobby.
Everybody has their own opinion.
We're going to give you some best practices to get into the hobby as inexpensively, meaning reducing your crash costs as humanly possible. So speaking of that, Jeff, really, what should your first helicopter be?
Your first model should definitely be a simulator. Not even just an actual model, but a simulator.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, a simulator in a way is kind of like a video game, but really most transmitters on the market can link directly to a computer and via a USB cable. Some of them have wireless interfaces, but a USB cable is kind of the more common way. And it will actually let you fly a helicopter, a virtual helicopter on the screen, much like you would with a controller playing a video game. And it can teach you your basic orientations. Jeff, can you tell us just a little bit about what those basic orientations are?
So I'm going to grab a little model to demonstrate. Your basic orientation of tail and hover, which is tail to yourself, and your basic 4-point hovering. And once you get good at that, then you can just bait your basic, left and right, figure 8, circle. And I like to call them the orientations because as you probably know, it's very boring to sit there and hover a helicopter, nose in, tail in, all the way around. It's not fun, but that'll teach you a way better pilot. You'll become a better pilot that way when you are learning the basic back to the...
Hello everyone, this is the Mobula 7 from Happy Model. It features a 2S single board flight stack, F3 with an OSD, 5 amp 4-in-1 ESC with a 6 amp peak, featuring BB2 on the ESCs. It also has a current meter. The board comes with its own receiver. In my case, it's an FR Sky. You can also get Fly Sky and DSM. The motors are 802 16,000 kV. The props are 40 millimeters. The description says 3-bladed, 700 TV line camera with a 25 milliwatt VTX. You have this 3D printed piece to hold your batteries in. Comes with 2 PH2 connectors. Inside the canopy is a micro buzzer. It weighs 28.5 grams. With batteries, it weighs 41.5 grams. You also get 250 milliamp batteries. Depends on which package you buy, how many you get. You can also get a charger. It does come with extra props, an extra 3D printed piece for your batteries, a screwdriver, and a prop remover, along with a few extra screws, and a one-page setup guide. Because we've seen some flight footage already, I want to cover a couple of things. One, when they set up the board, they got the minimum and warning cell voltage backwards. They have it at default, as you see on screen, 3.3 and 2.9. That should be reversed. In my particular case, I actually change mine based upon what I find with the batteries. So typically during my first day of flight, I'll go for a fly, I'll get my batteries in, I'll check them, and see where I need to land. Maybe I can adjust that power up or down, and this is not only on single cell batteries, but on multi-cell batteries as well. I want my batteries to be unloaded, test at 3.5 or really close to 3.5. Now, you may feel differently, and that's okay. You may want them to come in at 3.6, 3.7, 3.8 per cell. That's up to you. I'm just disclosing what I look for. You see on screen, I have the minimum cell voltage at 2.9 and the warning cell at 3.1, and you might be looking at that going, well, that's too low to come in at 3.5. Now, when I get done flying, I plug them into usually something like this. I have a couple of them around. This one happens to be from Beta FPV. I also have one from King Kong, and I think I bought another one from Tiny Boot, but I couldn't find it tonight. So you plug it into this little checker, and it gives you a voltage, and it tells you what it displays. I go by that. I haven't found that doing what I do has damaged cells at an accelerated rate. I have seen some of my cells get puffy, and I have had to dispose of them, but not that many. And in all the 1S batteries I have, I think I've actually tossed out 5, and I've probably got about 60 still. Some of them don't work as well as others, but some of them never worked as well as others. So it's going to vary. I think what I should start with is the durability. Now, you may have noticed in that flight footage that it was pretty fast. When I was satisfied with the amount of flying I had done, I started reviewing my footage. And when I was looking at it, I kind of thought, am I flying angry or am I just having that much fun? Because it did seem like I was flying really aggressively. And I did break the frame in a number of different spots. I switched out the frame not because of all the breakages, but because, you know, you have to take pictures for thumbnails, and I wanted to use a good frame. This is the B-Whoop frame. It's, I think, the B-Whoop 75. I think you can also get this in different colors. I think blue and yellow. There might be one other color. I'll find those if I can, and I'll link them down below in case you want to swap them out. But I did break this frame all over the place. You see this one. This one I actually repaired, but I didn't do a very good job, and then it broke again. We have a breakage there. We've got 2 breakages out there. I was doing things just kind of practicing. I was trying to do a power loop underneath that table because we don't have any furniture, and I got that one like picnic table thing out there. I was trying to power loop that. I don't quite have the finesse down. I have gotten to the point where I'll kind of bottom out, which it doesn't look very good, so it didn't make any of the video. You may be very, very familiar with this frame. Some of you may be swapping out your components of your Snapper 6 or Snapper 7 into this frame because it is the same. It is identical. The canopy, I think, is really well done. I'm a big advocate of having an adjustable canopy because I think camera angle is one way that we can adjust quite simply our speed. So regardless of whether you're an advanced pilot and you want to fly fast and you're in races, and so you want to crank this sucker up as much as you can, or if you're just getting started and you want to do some indoor cruising, you can go ahead and, well, if I can get my fingers to work here, you can go to almost 0 so you can just ease into your flying. So this canopy is really well designed. I actually think this canopy is better designed than it is on the UR65 and the US 65 and the UK 65 and the Snapper series. You know how they have this canopy. It's lower profile, which I appreciate. And also in the picture that I can show you here, you'll notice that it's secured in there better. And I think they did a really nice job of securing that camera inside. You might be able to see that little bracket at the backside. I tried really hard to take good pictures because I knew there'd be a lot of people interested in every little detail. And I was fortunate enough to get this early directly from the manufacturer. So I did try my best to take pictures, but I don't have a really highfalutin studio here. I'm just a guy who likes to fly and I make videos. But I do have an appreciation for how they designed the canopy and how they secured the camera in there. You do have smart audio. I didn't mention that in the quick roll. It's almost becoming standard, isn't it? And smart audio gives you the ability to change your channels and also your power, but in this case you can't change the milliwatts that your VTX is running at because it is only 25 milliwatts, but you can change your band and your channel that you're flying. So if you do go to a local race and you find that you're on the same channel as a buddy, one of you can switch quite easily just using your thumbsticks on the OSD. And I do get a lot of questions about how to do that. So to get into your OSD, you go left stick, this is in mode 2, you go left stick mid, full left, right stick, center, full forward. That gets you into the OSD. And then you go into the features, and then I think you go into TR. So that's where you get into changing your bands and your channels and your power. But again, this one does not adjust the power. Here's a little picture of the buzzer, and I did find it quite loud. And also something else that I was really surprised about was the fact that this thing, when you put it in crash mode or flip over after crash, it will do a flip sometimes. Something else I noticed is that it doesn't land upside down all that much. And I suspect that's to do with the low profile, that we don't have a lot of bulk vertically, so it would tend to find a flat spot, and that flat spot tended to be the batteries at the bottom. And probably because of this only weighs a gram. I think it's on my scale, it's actually 1.08 grams. So you're not going to save a whole lot of weight by going to a different material than this. You can see my props are beat up. Hopefully you can see all those stress marks. I did bend them back from time to time. I've got some tips that still aren't in very good shape. And I just flew it because I wanted to fly it like you might fly it. I didn't want to be gentle with it. I didn't want to try to take all those extra components that they sent me and put them in here to make it pristine. I wanted to fly it. You know, when I broke this frame, I continued to fly. Even this one, I don't know how long that particular day this frame was broken in both spots, and I just continued to fly. Now, some people are against plastic frames, and if that's the case, I suspect you've already left because it is a plastic frame. Me, myself, I don't have a problem with it, and I think the proof is a little bit in the pudding. You saw the flight footage. Is there anything wrong with how these plastic frame whoops fly? In my opinion, the answer is no. Another question that's likely going to come up is you might be able to see my tape down there. And I actually didn't notice this initially when I got it and started flying it, but my video wire was actually underneath, and with all the impacts, it kept hitting that wire and kept coming down. It may have been protecting a short as well, but when I took it apart, I noticed that wire that you're looking at was frayed a little bit, so I desoldered it, and then I put some heat shrink over that, and then when I put it back together for the beauty shots of the thumbnail, I made sure that I put all my wires over here to the side. Let's take a closer look at the components here that they sent. Some of you may know what each and all these components are, and I hope to give you a very good look at what they are and hold my hand nice and still so you can maybe read as much as you can or zoom in. If you have questions about these, let me know. I've got a host of pictures that I've taken of this thing, and I'll put them in a folder and I'll share them via Google Photos and a link down in the description so you can take another look. You see that it's black, and in the Snapper and the UR series, they're red. You can see the screen printing right there. It says Crazy Bee F3 Pro. Of course, some people will say, well, it's an F3. I wish it was F4. Yeah, I'm aware with you, but it flies really well, so I really can't complain. And a little look at the back side here with all those little components. Some of you may know what they changed. That is not a burn mark. I haven't even actually used this board. This is a brand new pristine board. Some of you might know what they changed to make this board 2S compatible. I don't, but maybe you can identify it here. I'm sure somebody will take a screenshot online and then circle the components that they found that were changed from the original 1S version to the 2S version. Your bind button, maybe the single most important button on this little thing, is actually right here. So how you bind, and the instructions tell you this, so I'm not telling you any sort of secrets. So how you bind is you plug in power, you press this button for 2 seconds. The lights go from, I think it's flashing to solid, so it's ready to bind. Or no, it goes from solid to flashing. It's ready to bind. You hit the binding on your remote. You can do D8 and D16. The manual or the instruction sheet also tells you about which to select for that. Depends on the protocol. It's for yours. I don't know why there's two different. I bound in D16 mode and it worked just fine. Mine in the configuration shows the FrSky X protocol in beta flight. So per the instructions, I bound in D16 mode, so having all 16 channels to me. So after pressing that button and the lights going to the flashing state, then you bind, and then it should go solid, and you're all set to go. Some people also tend to change these out to run a thicker gauge wire and or a thicker gauge wire that connects to an XT30. That's a choice you can make if you choose to. I think there's a lot of modders out there that are going to fully do that, and they'll probably also mod the battery bay to where the battery maybe just goes in here, or they use some sort of strap. So this is just kind of a base for those people who are going to do mods in order to improve it and make it the way they want. I do think one thing that I would like to see in all these frames now that include a receiver is that there's some mechanism on one of these hoops to secure the antenna. We can glue these down. You can use some welder glue like this. The nice thing about this stuff is that it stays flexible and it adheres pretty good. I use it for hoop repairs for the most part. It also takes a long time to set up. To fully cure, I think it takes 12 hours. So oftentimes what I would do is I would wreck it all up during the day, and then I'd fix it at night, and then I'd fly it again during the day, and then round and round you go. You can also use other glues like this. There's a whole bunch. E6000 is another one I have somewhere. So you can pick your favorite. Mine is this one. So I would like to see this, a little tube or something that just sticks along with the side one of these hoops that we can slide this through so we wouldn't have to glue it. Because when you do glue it, if you do decide to change out the frame, you've got more to deconstruct. But I will say that swapping out all the components from one frame to another only takes about 10 minutes. So it's hard to complain about a 10-minute swap. It's kind of like a NASCAR tire change or something. Let's take a closer look at the motors. So in this case, I am using pictures just because it's very hard to hold so still that you can get a good look. You do notice that we have C-clips on the top and the bottom, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I haven't noticed that before with other motors, that the C-clips are on the top and the bottom. And so that has the benefit of holding that stem in place when we're putting our props on, or if we're taking crashes. Hopefully that helps sure them up. I didn't have any problems with maybe hitting the motor stems and bending them of any sort. Of course, props are down inside the hoops for the most part. Only the top little 10% stick out. So the chances of hitting the props are relatively slim. Of course, when I would break the hoops, I would hit the props quite a bit, but no extra vibes, no twitches, really nothing that caused me anything of concern. Also, I'd spoken about this previously, they're gluing the heat shrink that goes around their wires to the motor base. Now, I haven't noted that either in other of these little tiny micro motors, so that may help us keep these wires attached. If you're flying outside and you know you fly by a bush or something, or these wires get tangled up in something in your house and you try to take off and you snag them and maybe pull them on it harder, maybe that glue around that heat shrink that is around the wires will help maintain the integrity of those wires. You also get to take a look at the air gap and the magnet sizes in those pictures that I'm showing you. The next thing we have to take a look is the Betaflight configuration, and I'm just going to let these pictures roll on screen as we just kind of talk about them a little bit. I did not pit tune this. This came from the factory just the way it was. And after we get done looking at these pictures, we're going to go ahead and go outside. Unfortunately, the flight I have isn't a full flight outside. I do land kind of early. I did this twice before on a much nicer day with less wind. I have lost some footage somewhere because I lost some footage out of my last two videos. So I don't know what I've done. I spent the morning kind of lurking around trying to find that footage. So I had to go back out today. And unfortunately, we have on and off rains and fairly high winds. So that flight that you're looking at isn't very good in my opinion, but it does give you a sample. I was surprised at how well it flew considering the amount of wind that I had. You can tell I kind of cruise around. I'm kind of waiting for a lower gap in the wind. And what I'm doing outside is mainly testing that what we're calling yaw washout, or the community is calling yaw washout, to where you do a dive and then all of a sudden the machine pitches up and then it kind of yaws around. It can yaw either way, but I think I've seen them primarily to the left, and this one didn't do it. It's there on screen. There's a bailout in there, but that's me not wanting to get stuck in a tree, not the machine just doing something on its own. During each and every one of these dives, I felt as though I was in control as much as can be expected with the amount of wind that was out there. And that's very curious because we've seen this yaw washout in other 2S whoops. So I'm wondering if it's has something to do with the aerodynamics of the hoops on these are different in some way, that it doesn't have that characteristic, or I haven't done enough dives to find the one that causes it to happen. That's possible. But you see what I tried to do, and it didn't happen. And so I have to assume from that experience and my previous two flights, which you can't see because I've lost that footage, that this one might not suffer from yaw washout, or they've done enough on the pit tuning, or they've done enough of maybe even upgrading the ESCs to the BB2 that they can respond quickly enough to keep the yaw washout from happening. Maybe that's what's going on. I'm speculating, I don't know. But it is a positive that we don't see that with this vehicle. Now, before I received the unit and I had some contact with Jason from Happy Model, I did post a question in the 2S Power Whip group asking what other people were looking for, and I did pass that stuff along to them, and they are looking at that. I don't know how seriously. I'm not part of their company. I receive no money from them. I just happened to be fortunate enough to draw their attention, and they wanted me to do a review. Whether they take those things into consideration and we see a future iteration, I was encouraging a pro version with a Cadix camera and possibly a VTX that we could change milliwatts but still small and light. I encouraged him to keep this thing as light as possible. It is a Whoop. If I didn't mention it already, I will also have the Betaflight dump files linked down below. So if you, for some reason, do some tinkering, maybe you flash and you need to come back, that file's there for you if you need to. Get you back to what you saw in this video. Hopefully we've covered everything. This model checks a lot of boxes. Hopefully I've given you the information that you need to make a decision on whether it's for you or not. If you're new to the hobby, again, I don't let the flight video discourage you because it's fast and because we have a big house. Yeah, you can fly in a big space and fly fast if you want to, or you can keep flying and achieve that if that's something in your goals. But I don't want it to discourage anybody, and that's something that I oftentimes worry about, is that someone sees a flight video, because I have been flying a couple of years, and many of you tell me how impressed you are, so I have to assume I'm doing fairly well. But I don't want it to put off anybody new. This stuff is too much fun to look at something and think that's way too intimidating. It's not. There's a lot of us out there that can help you, give you tips. I encourage you to spend a lot of time doing research. My first year and a half, I spent a lot of time just searching for stuff and looking at stuff on YouTube and asking myself questions and having my own doubt. So, if you want to get in this hobby and you're not yet, do I think this would be a pretty good model to get into? Sure. I think it has a lot of versatility. I do think it has the one drawback that you can break this frame. It's not a super durable frame. I think if you're flying more modestly, it probably won't break. And even if it does break, you can use that welder that I had out to repair it. And it works quite well. As I said, I hope I've given you the information that you've needed. If I didn't, ask a question in the section down below. If you're looking for my opinion on this, it's really hard